let's go to create, and let's go to create primitive polygon primitives and apply. Okay, drag and drop to create a new plane. As usual, let's just kill the grid and make sure the plane is selected. Go to XGen, create a description, and with everything the default setting, make sure to choose groomable splines. Just create. Okay, now we get the groomable splines and the primitives, which usually follow the groomable splines. They look like guides, but the difference between groomable splines and guides, as far as I can tell, with groomable spline we have got some nice tools, brushes in the groomable spline, the grooming tab. We don't have that for the can say for the guides. Okay, so that's it. So let's talk about the grooming tab. We have got at least 3 sections. One of them is called brush, edit, and setting. Alright, with the brush setting, with the brush, we've got a few brushes here which are very unique and specific for the groomable splines. Okay, for example, the first one is called lens, and if you click on any of these, for example lens, with orient, bend, we'll get some settings specific for that. And the good news is they are not difficult to master. Okay, once you understand one of them, the rest will be very simple to understand, because they are different by 1 or 2 options or sliders. Let's talk about one of them, then we can only tell the what are the different option, and we'll talk about that unique option which is specific for each one of these brushes. Okay, let's talk about the lens. If you go to the lens, okay, if the first one is called spacing. What is spacing? To understand spacing, let's go to Photoshop. Okay, let me just show you inside Photoshop. It's much easier to understand that inside Photoshop. And let's just kill this and then go to new, make sure to create a new file. And look, it's not about Photoshop this lesson, but I'm gonna show you spacing here, which is more obvious. Then we'll implement that idea inside XGen, okay, within Maya. Okay, let's choose a simple brush and go to the brush window, brushes. Okay, this is, can press on F5, and here we've got spacing. Okay, at 1% it is similar to Maya at I think 0.1. okay, so at 1% maybe it is 0.1, not actually, it's like 0.01, something like that. Okay, it's a little bit different numerical value, but they are originally the same. Go back to Photoshop and say let's just choose 1%, which is the lowest value. Okay, and if I just drag and drop, just go in a straight line, you can see we've got a very perfect straight line. Make sure you click on Shift, and if I go to 100, maybe 100%, something like that, and choose the same, and if I go to maybe 50%, and let's do the same. Okay, and maybe this time let's go to 25% and do the final one. Let's take a look at these. The first one was about um, is very nice and very straight with no spacing. Almost there is no spacing, and it is because of after the first circle will be made, okay, the brush, and after one person of moving away from the circle, another circle will be made of the 100%. Okay, so so you can see very smooth. This one after 100%, which means that after the circle finished exactly at the point where it is finished, 100% of the rate of the diameter of this circle. So another circle will be made, another circle. So it's 100%. And when say it is 50%, so each circle is at the starts from the center of the other circle. 25, the quarter. Okay, so this is about spacing. Spacing is how much you want to the circle to have a space between them. Okay, when you uh, brush something, and since they are brushes, they are all brushes, so I believe all of them have spacing, so because they are brushes. Okay, and the spacing works the same. Let me show you inside Maya. Inside, if we let's just increase the density for now. The density is the amount of these groomable splines. I'll just change the density to something a little bit high, something like, for example, 500. So this is really high. Okay, we don't need the primitives for now. If I just drag and drop it here, I just drag and drop it very simply with the spacing of maybe for now, let's just go to 0.01. Okay, very small spacing. You can see here, you see 0.001 is the lowest the slider can go. Okay, choose a little bit high value. Let's just for now just increase increment and this to a crazy number, and just drag and drop it. Okay, now let's change the spacing to a very high number, something like 1. Let's just drag and drop it. Even from the creation you can see the difference. And now let's take a look at this. I'm not sure you can see this from the recording clearly, but here I can see very easily the circles, each circle sorry each circle boundary. Okay, here it is very smooth, there is no boundary available, can be seen here. So if you want to have a smooth with no, as you can see, the brush is a circle, so a circle will be drawn like circle, 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 something like that. So if you want to see the boundary of the circle, I can see the boundary very clearly. To make it a little bit more clear to see, let's just decrease this to something like manageable, something like 300, and let's do the same with 1. This is with 1, and this is with 0.001, and let's just see that. As you can see here, it's a little bit more clear with this and with that. Okay, okay, so that's spacing. I usually like to have a very low number, something like, for example, 0.01, so as to be very smooth. But if you want to have some just change it back to something like 1 and go back here. If you want to have to see the circles, you can go with the spacing. Okay, change the spacing from to a low number if you want to, if you don't want to see circle. If you want to see the circles, you can increase the spacing to a high number, the same as Photoshop. Okay, for example, in Photoshop we change it to a high number, for example, like as you can see from the preview, as you can see the circle will go away from each other, and the circle will come to each other till you get a very smooth shape. Okay, stroke, better to say, a very smooth stroke. Okay, the fall off is also very easy to understand if we did it. Let me just do it again, maybe something like 200. And also you can press on B to increase or decrease the brush size. Okay, just make it a little bit bigger. And with the fall off of Gauss, let's just make it a little bit smaller. Let's just drag and drop to create one. This is with Gauss. Let's choose smooth. And let's go to a little bit too high. In fact, this value is a little bit too high. Let's go to something like 5, the default value. Just something like, we'll talk about that later, but let's say change it to 0.5 with 5, and let's just choose undo. And okay, a little bit more manageable. This is linear, and this is impulse. And if we go to, if you just press on this, let's take a look at the impulse and the smooth. The smooth is very linear, is okay, in a very linear fashion. Look at this, in a straight way. But impulse is like a stepping, okay. And smooth, it's more like linear but more just take a look at the smooth. Okay, we'll just update it. It's more like linear, but it blends more, okay, smoother. And if we go to the Gauss, I think it's much more smoother than all of them. As you can see from here, Gauss is the smoothest among all these. So I think it's the default value also, which is very smooth. So if you are looking for a smooth one, okay, a little sharper, okay, smooth, then more sharper you can go to linear, and the sharpest one is the impulse. So from this to this, it goes from very smooth fall off to very little fall off. Okay, a lot of fall off, a very little fall off. So this is it. And we have got mask apply within. We'll talk about that when we talk about the mask. Okay, let me tell you this. Okay, since we're talking about the lens and we can talk about this, if we let's just reset this. If you want to reset this, very simple. You can just change to something like 100, or just change it back to maybe okay 10, and refresh it. Everything will be reset. Other changes. Sorry. If you go to the mask, let's just talk about the mask. You can create a mask. We have almost the same setting, except for we've got magnitude, which is how much the mask you want to be intense. Let's just give it a very high number. And if I just create, you can see the green one, the mask. Okay, let's just hide the primitive to see the mask more clearly. And so we created a mask like that. Okay, so this is the mask we have, and it tells you, if we go to the lens again, what do you want? You want to, when you brush, you want to affect inside the mask or outside the mask. For example, if we just go to apply within, we'll only our brushes which affected the lens, increasing the lens or changing the lens of the primitive, or the groomable gun, which also affects the primitive, will be affected by our brush strokes, best to say. The we can say the apply within only lets you to apply the brush or the effect uh, inside the mask. Okay, so if it is like that, and if I just want to increase the lens outside the mask, it doesn't have an effect, but if I change it inside the mask, it has quite some effect. Okay, you can see I'm restricted to have the effect inside the mask. So if you have, for example, some area you want to only that this brush or that brush only be affected inside the that specific area, okay, you can do that. Or you can say, oh, okay, affect everything but not the mask. So you can just say apply outside. So, for example, I just choose undo. Um, okay, apply outside. So we can apply the outside, but when we brush inside the mask, it has no effect. Okay, you see when I am doing it, it's very obvious. Okay, very self-explanatory. Perfect. So this is for the mask. Also, we have increment and go lens. Okay, let's just choose undo. Okay, the undo works really well with the grooving. Just Control Z can undo it. With the increment, it means that with each stroke of the brush, how much do you want to add to the lens? For example, if you just choose 1, I think by default it's 0.1, so you'll get 0.1 unit will be added to the lens. So as you can see, with 1 stroke you'll get 0.1, 2 stroke 0.1, 0.1, so it will be added, okay, each time. If you want to get a quicker result, you can just use 1. So with each stroke you'll get 1, 1, 1 until you reach 10. So when you reach 10, then it will stop. Let's just say when you reach this is the final result. When you reach 2, let's say stop it after when you reach 2. So it will go, so after 1, 2 strokes, so the third stroke has no effect on them because they are already on 2. Okay, so as you can see, they will not be more than 2. Okay, so this is the goal length. Alright, so this is for the lens parameters. Let's just talk about the width parameters. The width parameter usually lets you to change the width without the other effects, okay, or without affecting anything, just the width. So we can just change the width. Doesn't show us here because this kind of display, which is showing the display line, doesn't support width. But if we just refresh it, make it some change in the width, especially here again. You can just increase the width and something like that. You can see the width will be changed. And if you want to see the width, we can change it to something like here, which is from the setting. We'll talk about the setting in detail, but just change it to cards. This type of display usually supports the width, okay, and much easier to see the width of the primitives. So even if we just hide it and start with the increment, go lens is the same as the lens. So with each stroke we will add 1 to the let's just say we will add 0.2 to the width, and after maybe 5 strokes it will reach to 1 and it will stop. So as you can see here, so it is very simple, and if we just update it, actually let the auto update or update preview automatically off, because it will make the scene slows down a little bit slow, okay, just because with every change it will update. So I just want to update it manually whenever I want it. So let's just undo a few times, hoping we can get something. Yes, so more undo. Okay, except for this, let's change it to something like 10. Updated. Okay, so we go something like that. Let's talk about the pose. With the pose, it affects the orientation and bend. Looks like we have bend and orientation, both of them in one option. What are these? Okay, we have got spacing the same, fall of the same, and if you want to, and masking is also the same. If you want to have posing only inside the mask or outside the mask, okay, the same. But the orientation and the bend, can how much do you want to orient or how much do you want to bend? Let's just say I want to orient with 0, only affect the bend. So just hide this. See, only bending it. What if I just want only to orient it? So just increase it. It looks like bend, but it's only just a little bit moving it away. It doesn't bend it so much, okay? So orientation and bending. But if I want to move all of them and with a little of bend, you can combine these together. And pose is, I think, one of the most useful one in this um, among all these brushes, because it helps you to usually stylize your very quickly. I can play with that um, all day. Okay, it's very simple. Just it's a little bit more dramatic. The bend, well, the orientation is a little bit less dramatic and affects all the shape um of the guide. So if we just play with the orientation without bending, look at that. Affects almost all the shape in this. We especially did at the top part, while the bend works mostly at the bottom. Look at that. So this is bent. Look at the bend. And so you can see it bends them down. So let's just go back to orientation again. You can see all the orienters means that something like rotating them to which direction you want, and a little bit also bends them, but mostly rotates them. So orientation also change the direction um, of the groomable splines. You can see if you want to make them look at that direction, you can do that. And if you want to bend in that direction more, just add some bend. Okay, they will also bend in that direction. So it's more like where do you want the, so if you have, for example, an animal and you want to change the fur of the body of that animal, you can change the direction first and with some bending, and after you did so, for example, you are happy with this result, just update it to see the primitive. As you can see here, it's a little bit too thick, but it is really nice already. So this is for this, so this is much more like rotation, where do you want to look at, and this is more like bending. Okay, orient only affects the same as only will get, just hide this, only will get more like the where do you want to look at this, do you want this um curve guides a little bit with a little bit of bending, but where do you want to look at, this is you can see they are not also really they are not bent at all. In fact, they only look at the direction where I um, where I stroke towards. Okay, for example, if I want to stroke towards the right, they will look to the right, they will look the right, and if I just choose left, they look the left. Amazing. Okay, and great. Okay, so this is and the magnitude is how much do you want to be. If it is 1, it's very strict, very rapid change in the direction, and if you want to just a little bit, for example 0.1, you can just change it a little bit, and it will, with every stroke you'll get the result of 0.01 in the direction where these global guides look at. Okay, very simple to understand. Bends, okay, doesn't change the orientation, doesn't change um, the direction, but I have to say they only change the bending. Okay, if this is look at that, even if I rotate it, doesn't it does looks like it changes the direction, but in fact doesn't. Only adds to the rotation. Okay, and as you can see, so many um of these global splines penetrates the surface. If you want to make them stand out from the surface, this is where elevation comes, and you can give it a degree. For example, with you can get the goal to 30 degrees for the final, and get to, with each brush you can get 1 degree. So if you just, it's really little, not doesn't have so much effect. I just change it to 10 degrees with 9 degrees. So if I just look at that, with each stroke I'll get 10 degrees, so they will stand up again. You can see this area okay, at this area we had a lot of penetration. Now we have almost no penetration, so it's very useful. If you have penetration, you can make them stand up again. And this is the degree, how much do you want to stand up in degrees. Actually it makes them to rotate. And the final one, you can get 9 degrees, which is very straight, and you can get to the degree with 9 strokes. If you just give it 9 strokes, you'll get a straight one. Okay, like this. That's straight. Okay, so for this area I really want to make them a little bit stand up. So as you can see, it elevates them, it makes them um, stand up, and removes the penetration with the surface. So you can just, you can even brush it from the back, doesn't matter. So you can simply remove all the penetration. Now we've got no penetration, and it's really nice. Okay, we just choose update, it'll be something like that. Okay, now let's just go to this one, which is called the attract. Let's hide this. Attract usually makes them to come together. If we just, as you can see, like clamping, it's attracting, and this is this slider usually, and the slide is lock or float. If you just choose float, and this is the lock. You can see so much different, but get something like clamping, and this is how much do you want to. For example, if you want to have less and slower effect, so you can get it. Maybe this too fast even now. Choose maybe 0.04. Very slow. Maybe go to float. Still too slow. Okay, now maybe a little bit higher. So it is very very useful if you want to get some kind of clumping effect. And this is this how fast you want. You can make it long clumping, something like that. Very nice effect. Let's just use undo and refresh it. Okay, something like that. And if you want to just reset everything, you can just reset it from here. Just refresh it. Get something like that. Okay, this is just for resetting. Repel, very useful. Also, we just repel them. Just increase the magnitude. That makes them away from the stroke. That's very useful. This is a repel. If you want to create some kind of gap with almost no hair or fur or something like grass, if you want to create somewhere, okay, you can just maybe changing the okay, changing the effect. So with that, okay, with that we can just update it. As you can see, there is almost no. We can just make it repel from it, make them away from the point or from the center of the brush. Okay. So let's just hide this and maybe resetting this. And let's do apart. Apart is almost the same as repel, but repels is making them away from a point, and this is making them away from a line or a stroke. So with that, we can get a similar effect like repel, because usually the stroke is some connected dots. Okay, this just works with a dot, and this works with a even with a connected dot. So if we want to create some, for example, if it is a hair and you want to create some kind of hairline, and just increase the magnitude, and you can just do something like that. And if I just refresh it, so we create some hairline, something very quickly. So this is it for the apart. Very simple to understand. Let's just go to the noise. Sorry. With the noise, we can have how much do you want to affect the noise to the middle of this. Just hide this, then reset it, and this is the middle of these splines, and the tip, very top, and also the width, how much do you want to affect the width, and the off, from how much you want to be off the center of the point, and the around, and then how much you want to affect the twisting. So if we just, let's say, with everything at the default, if we just um, um, struck it around like crazy, we get something very low value like 0.075 noise, random noise, affecting the middle of these splines. So this is very clear, and with more at the top, so the tips are more bended away from each, to bend to one side, and the widths, and also how much they are off the, just look at this, it's much easier to see, of the spline. You can make them offset. This is the offset, and the around, you can see. So just as you can see, much easier. And also it fixes also the length, so the width and the twisting. Okay, makes them twist somehow. So that's it for the noise. It adds noise to this, and you have some option to decide what kind of noise do you want. I usually don't like to change the width, and so you'll change the width to 0. I don't want to affect the width, and This usually the top or the tip is more than the middle. It's more logic one, and maybe the two of also maybe it's a little bit too much. Maybe one. The rest is okay, so you can just play around a little bit to add some noise and realism um, to your grass or to your hair. Okay, and if you want to have faster results, you can increase these numbers accordingly. Okay, this is just twisting, nothing more, just twisting. So if we just look at that, you can see they are twisting. Just add some bend. Now we can go to twist. Just increase the magnitude. Look at that. It's much easier to see. So make them twist. And if you don't have a bend value, it doesn't affect on this straight line because the straight line cannot be twisted, but you can see they're all twisted. So what you want to see the bend? You want to see the bend look at the top or look at the bottom or somehow in the middle, so and make them twist. Okay, very nice effect. So it looks like the noise, the twist, but with a separate brush, which is very nice to have it. The smoothing makes them somehow smooth again. Okay, blend the effect and makes a little bit less dramatic. And region, you can draw some region just for visual representation. For example, just changing the color to, for example, to green, this area. So you can create a region. Okay, map. Also, we can create a mask, and for the mask, we can make it within the mask or outside the mask. We talked about that. Also, we can choose eraser, and if we have something like, for example, bend. So this is bend, and if you want to erase some of these bend, just go to eraser, increase the bend. Now we can erase bend, we can erase orientation. For example, we add some orientation or change the direction, and can go to eraser, remove orientation, and you can also remove lens. For example, if I just increase the lens, no, I don't want that lens, so just go to eraser. How much do you want to remove? For example, maybe with each stroke remove 1. So as you can see, even you can remove it to even something like that. Okay, to get some default value. Okay, if you want to, if you have a mask, for example, you want to get rid of the mask, you can just choose clear. This will get rid of the mask, and you can choose reset to reset everything back to its default setting with these brushes. And auto twist, it looks like a smooth brush, but it applies to everything, especially with the twisting. And if I just add some bending, let's remove this, and some bending very quickly, and then some twisting, and maybe some noise. I'll just increase it to crazy number. And if you really want to make them a little bit smoother result together, choose auto twist. You can see makes them smooth. It just maybe just changing the twisting to something. Okay, maybe changing the twist a little bit more. Just auto twist. It averages a twist and makes it a little bit smoother. I usually like to change with a smooth and maybe change it a little bit and refresh it. Okay, so this is for the auto twist. And if you want to copy this effect to the other side, just go to flip to left, copy it here. You can see they are identical, and just flip to right. Doesn't have so much effect on this. If we had a sphere, it will be much easier to see because it usually affects on one side of a hair and do the copy to the other side, because from the right to left or to the right to the right. So let's go and go to maybe new and go to create polygon sphere quickly, and just like this, click description, choose groomable splines, and just create, and let's just choose add, put a very big number. Okay, so we just added some very long primitives, and if we just want to flip it to right, just click on it. Okay, if we flip it to the right, and if we just choose flip it to the right or flip it to the left, doesn't have so much effect, so great. Just added more here and maybe some bending, and I want to flip it to the little left. Okay, and flip it to the right. Okay, so it's a little bit tricky, but most of the time it works. Let me show you. Just change the lens, and I want to affect the let's right. Actually, from the copy something from here to there, so it will make it. Let's choose the same. This time let's choose left. Left. Okay. Copy this to here. Okay. So this is left and this is right. So very simple to understand now. Just now you have to find where the left and where is right, then you can start sculpting. And after you're finished, for example, I can just add some band and with some posing. So after doing all these, you can just choose maybe left, so we get the same effect on the left side. Okay, so it's just like mirroring. Okay, from left to right or right to left. If we just change it here, I want to copy this, make them also more longer, so we can copy this to left, sorry, choose right. Okay, so that's it. You have to know what's right and what's left, then you can copy from left to right or left to right to left. Okay, a little bit tricky. Okay, but that's it. Let's go to the settings. Okay, the last section of this tab. The visibility, okay, very simple. If you just turn this off, it will, and the visibility of the groove splines off, and make sure if you just turn this off and change any of these, which will still update. Okay, make sure because with this, okay, let's just hide this. So it just only affects the visibility of the spline, and if we just increase this, it's much easier to see from here, because if you just turn this off and suddenly change something like that to a very crazy number and press on update, you get quite a lot of primitives. Okay, and sometimes it may crash because it takes some memory. Okay, so be careful of this. Change something like 1, refresh it, get something like that. Okay, the density and the sync is very useful. This is for the density, how many, just how many points you want. It's just like how many primitives you want. Okay, you can control density. It's the same as changing the density from here, from the primitives in, from the preview. It only lets you see how much you want. See it, but from the primitive section you can increase the density even from here, but I usually prefer to change it from here because we have got more options. And the sampling, if you do something and if you change it to increase the density and how much do you want to be added. If you want to be linear, it will be added to the shape of the new one. The new one will be adapted in a linear way to the shape of the old one, and the nearest, usually using the nearest, and the interpolation usually uses an interpolates with the others. Okay, it's like a smoothie one, and less smooth, medium, and the most smoothing. Okay, something like that. Okay, and what else? Okay, with the masking, if I just change it to something like, for example, 10, and change the mask to something like 2, we'll get twice as much. Change the mask to 4, and refresh it. We're supposed to get 4 times as much if we just refresh the mask. Doesn't look like. Okay, let's just choose linear. Refresh. We don't get so much, but the masking is like the multiplier for this, but it looks like doesn't work for now. I have no idea what's the reason why, but just change it to 10. As you can see, doesn't affect so much, but that's it. In fact, I had in the past I had some trouble with the mask, even with the XUV. Um, if I create an XUV and I want, for example, the XUV is supposed to work like if you want to have more spline in this area than, for example, this area, you have to paint an XUV file and load it here. But as long as I load it here, I'll crash. And to test this, let me just test it, okay? Let's just test this crashing. Okay, let's just create, for example, I want to have some more here than here, more global splines. So to do so, we have to have an XUV file just to tell the XGen to okay, we want to have, I don't want to be distributed equally along the surface. I want to have more here, less, for example, here. So to do so, let's just go. There are several ways to do the XUV file. I think the easiest one is go to the modifiers, go to anywhere, and in the control map, and just create just for now. Let's go to the grooming, hide the visibility just to see without having any distraction, and just generate. You can get these points at the very start, and you can just paint more. I want to have more here, and you can just press a control. I don't want to have almost nothing here. Okay, you just want to have more here. You just press on B to increase the brush size to paint it easily. And after that, for example, just increase density, we'll add it a little bit quicker. And after that, for example, this is what I want, have more here, less here, and just specify a folder where you want to save this XUV file, and just save it on the desktop for now, and choose save. Okay, let's just cancel everything. We don't want any wire, and just go to the modifiers. This is the subject for now. Just needed that for creating the XUV file. But just if I go to the desktop, you can see we've got an XUV file called the PSphere1. And if I go to Maya and grooming, and choose loading this XUV file. Just load the desktop folder, as you can see here, and let's just see the visibility. If I refresh it, I was supposed to get a lot of from here and almost nothing from here, but I usually get a crash. As you can see here, a fatal error. I think this is something wrong with this. Maybe it's not stable, but that's it. In fact, the procedures should be like that. If you want to have more from an area, in area to have more than the other area, you can do it. It's supposed to do something like that, but it doesn't work. You can just say okay, and we have to load my again. Let's see, it crashes. It's okay. You just load my again. Takes a few seconds to load. Okay. Just close this. So if you want to have more from an area than another area, you can create surfaces and extract the surfaces and create description and some descriptions, and each description make the density different from the other description, so you can have more dense in some area than the other area. So this is the solution to do that instead of using the XUV map. But with the XUV map, I think it's much easier, but unfortunately there's an error with that, so I hope we can fix it. Okay, so we just select the sphere and choose XGen and create description, and go to groomable splines. Just create. You click on create, and after that we go tip color. Just hide these. The tip color, as you can see, it is yellow, and the base color is somehow light brown. You can change it to usually it's better to change to a bright color. Let's just say white or a very bright green, and the base color, let's say, and some opposite color in the color spectrum. Opposite of green is something like magenta, so choose magenta, but with very dark, so we can see this very clearly. So okay, and make this really bright. Okay, so this is it. You can see this just for the preview sake, and this is for the display. You can see this magenta at the bottom, a very dark magenta, and this is gray, for a very bright green at the very top. Also, this just let you help you with some visualization, and also we can change the display, whether you want to have line or you want to have cards. With the cards, so this is much easier to understand. From this will blend to green. You can see this very clearly, and I usually like to use cards most of the time because I can see the widths, the actual widths of the primitives without updating. So with that, I can go with that, and which is very easy to understand, to let you know and to understand the widths of the primitives without seeing the actual primitives. And one thing, before talking about this, one thing which I really I'm happy with the XGen is that in the renderer, the viewport tool works really well with the XGen. If we just go back to the legacy viewport, it also works with XGen, but with viewport 2, I feel like it's much better. So viewport was fully integrated with XGen, which is something really great. This is the lens. They will change the lens, all of them together. For example, if you want to start with a very short lens, and you can change the lens with a brush. And if you think it's high, you can choose erase with lens and can make it back to this default, which is something very short like over 0.1. Okay, and you can change the width, you can see very simply. And if we change this and update it and very thick primitives, and the TPU, okay, the texel and this export. Okay, let's tell you what is this groomable spline is. And if I go to the folders, I can find it. Go to documents, Maya, projects, default, okay, XGen, the collection. I think it's collection M02. You can see it from here. In the collection O2, we've got description 2, and we have groom. Okay, usually when you press on refresh, it will create a groom. And with this groom, you can see I change bend, lens, mask, all these things to be here, to be added here, and you can change this to somewhere else. So, and they're all PTX maps. You see, .ptx. And when you change anything, it will be added, replaced in fact with the existing PTX map, and will be saved here. And you can maybe use it, or you can also do anything you want, okay, with it. And you can change the resolution with this PTX map. If you look at that, was a few kilobytes. If you change the resolution, just go to the projects, default, XGen. If you change the resolution, these will change to even bigger, and it will make your scene quite slower with very big size like 70 megabyte, 50 megabyte. So you have to be very careful. Maybe something like 20 is okay. You have enough resolution with the map. Okay, so this is a brush paints on a surface, and we save it as a map, as a file, which is PTX map, and this is the resolution of that map. And this is where you want to export. If you want to set the default folder, as I show you, you can change it to another folder. For example, if you want to change it to desktop, and after refreshing it, I'm going to be changing it to something. Just change it to something like 2, and we add some bending, and maybe some posing it, maybe some crazy thing, and maybe changing some blends. After doing all these and choose refresh, if I go to the desktop, you can see a bunch of folders including lens, widths, orientation, bend, masking, and regions. Even I didn't change the masking and region, but PTX map usually put it for them. Okay, and for example, the lens is 85 kilobytes. If I change the PTX to something like, for example, 100, and refresh it, because it takes more time because I changed the PTX to 100. So we need more time to be updated. It will be updated, but the point is it takes more time because the resolution of the texel, or the texture which is created by these brushes is much higher, at least 5 times higher than before. So it takes 5 times more than before. If I go to these files, I just go to the desktop, and if I can find it, something like the lens, we don't have it because replace it takes some time to be, if it is not an error. So it's not advisable to change it to something like 100 or 200. At 99.99%, the best value is 15. Okay, with 15, it takes, as you can see, it takes sometimes ages to update, and most of the time, if it is high, you'll run out of memory and you'll get some kind of error. Okay, now I feel like my computer is struggling with that. And if I just, as you can see, I changed to 366 kilobytes. Previously it was only 98 kilobytes, so it is much higher. Now let's update it. let's just change back to something like 15, a little bit more manageable, and refresh it. Now it takes a few time to update, and um, even we have quite some nice resolution, 15. Okay, and one more thing is, if you let's just change it to line and hide this. And I usually like choose line when I shape it because it's easier to see. Let's just change it to change the lens a little bit higher and make this a little bit bigger. And okay, then go to lens and increase the lens maybe. And after doing all these shapes, the problem is if I just change it to something like 10, everything will be moved to the default. What if I just want to increase without and keeping my shape? For example, if I just want to increase this, and I'll just do it a little bit faster. Okay, I want to keep this shape because if I do this and change it back to, for example, 1, okay, you can see it will be changed back to its default. Okay, it is default. Let's change to 0.5 to its default value. So how can we do that? First, let's just choose shaping it. Shape this guy. Let's just increase the lens. If we look at that, you can see some of them are longer. Okay, I changed some of these, so it's better to first reset everything, and sometimes it's better to start with maybe with a new one. Okay, let's go to create and polygon again. Plane is very simple. And let's just hide the grid, create, make sure groomable, just create, and by default save it inside the exports folder. Okay, let's keep this like that. And if I, for example, changes something to this guy, like for example changing the lens, okay, and so, and for example the width, or let's just choose a pose. I'm gonna hide this to see this clearly. All this information is saved inside a folder which is inside the XGen collection, the name of your collection description to be saved here, so as PTX maps. And if I change it the density to something like, for example, 10, yes, everything is resetted and it will be saved again in a map like that. Okay, if I just refresh it, maybe this is the map we have for now. Okay, but what if I just want to keep this even after increasing it? So let's just do this again. I'm just gonna do some like that. If I just look at this, we've got some nice effects, something like that. If I want to keep that even after increasing the density or decreasing density, I have to export this groomable into a different location and save it there. So let's just go here, and I'm gonna create a folder within the description. I'm gonna call this groom export. Okay, I just created a folder, and I'm gonna export this shape and all this information for the brush inside that folder. To do so, just go to File, Export Grooming, and I just choose the Groom Export. Select this folder, which is Groom Export folder. The name of the folder will be here, and you can give it some ptext textile per unit, which is the resolution, and what kind of sampling one. Let's just choose interpolate, which is a better one, as you can see from here. And even export the masking and the, as you can see, let's can even export the masking. Let's just also export the masking, and you can also export the region map if you have a region map. Okay, you can also export and use it. You can also specify the textile or the resolution of the map. Okay, for now I'm gonna just export the attribute maps, which to this folder, which we call it groom export, and choose export. And everything will be saved again inside this folder, which is, let's go back here, my projects default XGen collection is in collection 4. I think it is 4. Yes. So that will be inside that. Yes, no, it's inside collection 3. It's supposed to be 4, but this, okay, since we already specified 3, it will be inside 3. You can specify any folder, okay, here for the default and for the export, okay, you can specify anything. So if I change it to something like 5, it will turn back to its default value. So as you can see, everything is turned back to its default value. But if I want to get back to my shapes, all I need to do is just go to File, Import Grooming, go to Groom Export. This is what I have. So select folder, just import. As you can see, it's been imported. So if I just refresh it, you'll get what I save it. Okay, very quickly. Even if I just increase to something like crazy, like 15, and even it will be interpolated within, okay, with a new one. So if I just go to import grooming, okay, make sure every time choose groom exports. So import, perfect. Can even hide this just to see this, the primitives, which is very simple to understand. Alright, so this is about importing and exporting grooming, and for the default folder for the export grooming, you can change this folder to desktop or to any other folder you want, and by default is inside your project inside your description folder. Okay, there we go. That's it.